Christmas, everybody, or Happy Holidays, or just what's up if you don't celebrate. But I thought for tonight's video I would just ramble on about some of my favorite Christmas memories, just Christmas in general. I will say that this is like loosely inspired by my girl Remy ASMR. She just like sits down and like picks a topic of things and she just goes on and on about them, and I find that really interesting and I love it, and I kind of want to try to incorporate that a bit more into my channel. It's just like sitting and talking about things, because I feel like you guys enjoy the way like you like listening to me like talk about anything, and sometimes I kind of prefer that instead of like figuring out, oh my gosh, which triggers do I do, etc, etc. So I thought I would talk about Christmas. I know that some people, this can be like a really lonely time or like a really hard time if you don't get along with your family, etc, etc, etc. So I thought that like uploading a video on Christmas night would be good. Maybe you didn't feel so alone, and if you were like alone today, we can hang out. Okay, like this can be our little Christmas together. So I thought I would just talk about my Christmases throughout the years. I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. I love the vibes about it and everything like that. One of the biggest reasons I haven't moved out of Canada is because I need Canadian Christmas. My stepdad always tries to make my mom go on vacation with him over Christmas, and she's like, no, I can't not have snow for Christmas. And I'm like, right, like I need snow for Christmas. It's the best, and like the environment of like people being cold, like it's just so good. I know obviously if you never grew up with that, like you're used to like beaches at Christmas, etc, etc, but yeah, I love the snowy winter wonderland of Christmas. One year my brother went to Mexico with his wife for one of her friends' weddings over Christmas, and he was like, I'm never doing that again, like I miss Canada Christmas. And I was like, yeah, I bet you did. I bet you did. So let's start off talking about Christmas a little bit better. Before I kind of get into it, I will state that I did grow up. My parents were divorced when I was pretty young, but I grew up in mostly an upper middle class family, so I know that I was really incredibly lucky, like the things that I got and all of that, like I know I'm lucky, but I'm just gonna kind of state that like some of the things I'm gonna say was just my reality. I'm not trying to like brag or anything, because I know that like I grew up so fortunate. I never went without anything, and I'm so thankful for that. Like my mom and my stepdad worked so hard. My dad worked super hard. Like I don't want to like shove it in your face. It's just kind of like that's part of some of the stories, especially with Christmas. I know that it can be really, really hard. Because certain families got like bigger things, you know what I mean? And with my family, my mom isn't really into giving birthday gifts or like random presents. She mostly like gave us most of like our things for Christmas. So yeah, I grew up in a divorced family most of my life, so I had 2 Christmases no matter what. And it still can be so hard to like organize everyone, and now that a large portion of my siblings are married, it's even harder, because now it's not just like our 2 families trying to figure it out. There's so many other like people now involved, and it can be really hard. My mom's a saint though. She's always just like, we'll do it whenever, but in her defense, she's retired, so it doesn't quite matter. Like she can do anywhere between the 25th and the 30th. But anyways, when I was younger, a lot of the time my mom and my stepdad worked every Christmas until he retired. But my mom would have to go to work some Christmases, and I remember waking up at like what felt like 4 in the morning, but I'm pretty sure it was probably 5:36. Every couple years, when she had to work on Christmas because she was a nurse, I had to wake up at like 5:30, and I remember being so small and being like, what is going on? Like, so tired, not even like wanting to open gifts. But sometimes, yeah, we'd have to wake up really early so she could go to work for 7 a.m. But when that wasn't happening, we would usually get up around 7. When I was younger, pretty regularly, like, because after my parents got divorced, my dad was single for a really long time, so pretty much for the beginning of my childhood, I woke up at my mom's house, and my brother would come get us because he slept upstairs, and the rest of us girls slept downstairs, but he would come get us and like make a big commotion, and then we'd all go upstairs and like open gifts, and it was so fun. My mom always, like, she was smart. Instead of like wrapping your Santa present, she would just put it under the tree, so you couldn't figure out if Santa was real or not, because I had lipstick on my teeth. I knew I shouldn't have worn this. Anyways, because she didn't write on the card, and she has like super recognizable writing, so she would do that. One year I got a beanbag chair. So cool. It was pink with like little flowers, and I used that thing up until the point when my mom moved a couple years back. She got rid of it and didn't even ask if I wanted it, and it's still such a sore spot because it was such a dope beanbag. But now I know some, like, because she donated it to like a thrift store, I guess, kind of thing. So I know some less fortunate child is enjoying my beanbag, and I'm so happy for them, but it was just like so sad. One year for Christmas, I got this animal pillow. It's shaped like a hippo. I want you all to know I still have it, and I was like 5 or 6 when I got this pillow. I still have it. I sleep with it every night. I remember because it's just like a flat pillow, but it's shaped like a hippo. Its tail is so soft. I can't explain it, but one time it got a hole in its neck, and I was like so devastated. But my mom thankfully sewed it up for me, so that was good. Okay, so we would wake up, open gifts at my mom's. We like all knew we had to wait for her to like come get us, kind of thing. I don't know if that's like that everywhere else. And then traditionally when I was younger, then we would go over to my dad's for a few hours, open our gifts at his house. Then I would come back to my mom's house, and we would go to my grandma and my grandparents' house, like my mom's parents. And I have a huge, that side of my family is huge. Like, I have so many cousins. My mom had 3 brothers, and they all have wives and kids and stuff, so it was a huge family, and it was like it was a madhouse. So when I was younger, that was kind of what we did, and then we would come back home because my grandparents lived on a farm. My grandma still lives there. My grandparents lived on the farm, and then we would come back into town, and there's still lipstick on my teeth, you guys. This is why I don't wear tube red lipstick. Okay, sorry. We would come back into town and then go back over to my dad's house. Sometimes he would have supper, and my aunts would come over, that kind of thing. Because when I was, my dad's parents died when I was quite young, so it was kind of just him and his sisters. And then when I became a teenager, that's when things started to change. So when I was younger, that was kind of like basically that's what happened every Christmas. And I always remember, we also always, because my mom, my stepdad are very religious, so we always went to church on Christmas Eve. And that was really fun, because I got to hold the candle. It was fun. I had a good time when I was younger. So yeah, when I became a teenager, things got different, because my dad found my stepmom, and then my stepsister was involved. So things changed a bit, and that's when things started to get a little tricky, but not in a bad way. It was just like we had more planning to do, and like my stepmom wanted to see us a bit more, and that's when and my dad actually moved, because we all used to live in the same place. Anyway, so that's when things changed a little bit, and yeah, but that's mostly it. I've always spent Christmas with my family. Like, it's always been a super busy day, up early, late to bed. So when I became a teenager, then my mom was always like one of my favorite times because I loved my grandma and grandpa. I still love my grandma, but my grandpa sadly died in March. And he was like, I loved them. They were just, I loved them, so it was always super fun. And then all my siblings would be home, except for sometimes my elder sister wouldn't come home because she didn't. She lives in a different province, so it's a lot harder to come home. But we would do Christmas Eve at my mom's, and then Christmas still at my grandma's, and then sometimes Christmas night I would go to my dad's, and sometimes I would wait till Boxing Day. Now it's like my mom and my dad kind of like to just have their own day now that we're all able to travel on our own. It's not quite such a big deal. In recent years, my grandma has stopped cooking and like having people at her house because she's just kind of like too old for it. But my mom and my one uncle have kind of taken over on that front, which has been really cool. I hope this is even making any sense to you guys. If not, you're just like listening to me talk about nothing. I remember one year, because my grandma has diabetes, and one year she got diabetic low on Christmas Eve and had to go to the hospital. So I think I was like 17 when this happened. So my mom woke my sister and I up, and my other sister. I think my other sister was there. I can't quite remember. She woke us up early in the morning and she was like, we have to go. We have to open presents. We have to get grandma from the hospital. And then we gotta go to her house and do all the cooking. So we did that really fast. Like we opened gifts, showered, and like picked my grandma up at like 8:30 in the morning. Because yeah, we had to go discharge her from the hospital. She was totally fine, by the way. She just like went into like a diabetic coma. If you know much about like older people that have diabetes, this happens. It happens sort of frequently. It hasn't happened in a while, but it was a frequent event at the time. So we picked her up from the hospital and we drove her out to her house. And my grandpa was so worried, but he was like super glad that she was there. And then me, my twin sister, and my mom and my grandpa got Christmas dinner ready so that the rest of the family could still come over. Except for my uncle cooked the turkey that year, I believe, or was it chicken? Whatever, he cooked the bird. So yeah, it still went off without a hitch, and she was just like so thankful, and she was like, I've ruined Christmas, and I was like, no, you didn't. And then kind of after that is when she stopped doing most of the Christmas stuff. She decided that it was like a little too stressful for her, and that was okay. So that happened. It was so like crazy. I feel like most people wouldn't think it was funny, but like I think it's funny now. At the time I was worried, but now it's kind of like, oh yeah, I picked grandma up from the hospital. It's a girl. Yeah, let me think. What else has happened on Christmas? Last Christmas was really weird for me because we weren't allowed to mix households or anything like that. So it was like the smallest, calmest Christmas I've ever experienced, but it was super fun anyway. It was just me, my sister, my mom, and my stepdad. And it was kind of nice, honestly. This year is gonna be crazy again. Like, it's gonna be back to family. I'm nervous about that. But that's okay. What happened? I always bake cookies with my mom every year. Like, she waits for me. I'm gonna tell you a story. This is my favorite Christmas memory. And I have two stories left to tell. Okay, so I'll tell the short one first. My one sister was in university. That Christmas that she was in her first year of university, my mom and my dad bought her a car. It was a used car, but like they bought her a car. And I remember for 2 months we were like hiding this car. We would go and park it in this parking lot when she was coming home to visit, so she didn't know that we had the car. So like my mom and my dad worked together and they pulled us off. She didn't know she was getting a car. And she opened up the little box that had the keys in it, and she was anyway, but like maybe it was. But I was like, here, like I'll take a picture of it, and I was like 14. Like that was nice for a teenager to do to their older sister, you know what I mean? Anyways, the last story I have to tell is also about a car. When I was very young, I think I was like 5, my mom bought my twin sister and I this giant coloring book. Like I swear it was 3 feet tall. And we were coloring it, waiting to go to my grandma's. We were coloring it in front of like this big picture window in our house. We were coloring it. And my mom asked my oldest sister to go outside and warm the car up because in Canada you have to warm your car up in the winter before you drive it. So she went out to go warm the car up. So keep in mind, my sister and I are sitting on the floor instead of in front of this big window coloring. And my oldest sister goes outside to start the car. It was a standard car. And she was probably 15. I think she was 15 if I was like 5. She's 9 years older than me. So maybe I was like 6. We were really young, and my oldest sister only had her learner's permit. And keep in mind that in Canada, majority of the vehicles are automatic, but this car specifically was a standard. And she goes and thinks, I'm gonna do more than start the car. I'm gonna back it out of the driveway, like I'm gonna move it. Because she was only starting the car to move it so we could get the bigger vehicle out. So we could get the SUV out, so we could all get in the SUV, because there's a lot of us. There was 5 kids, right? So she thinks, I'm gonna be extra helpful and back the car out. But instead of going in reverse, Bestie goes into like 5th gear and launches over the lawn in the car and is so close to breaking through the house, where me and my twin sister are sitting innocently on the floor coloring, and my mom was brushing her teeth, talking to us. She has a talent that she can do this, and she's like also looking out the window, and she said some choice curse words as the car's launching over the lawn, and it got like stuck in this tree, because we have like a giant tree in the middle of the yard too. It got like hung up in a tree, and we had to leave it there because it got stuck, because we had like so much snow that year. My mom was so mad, and she was like, you nearly killed your sisters. Anyways, my sister would also be mad if she found out I told that story, so we're not gonna tell